Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So pleased to be back talking to you on my YouTube channel, Spiritual Times, with me, Philip Solomon, last Thursday of each month. And it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It really is. And, always hope that I can come up with something to help with your development or advise in any way. I get lots of suggestions for things and we'll look at them all, see if we can fit them in. I'd like to tell you what we're going to do tonight. What we're going to chat about is the power and spirituality of praying, because I think that's vitally important for all of us, particularly where the world is at the moment. Really, dear me, what a terrible, terrible world it is at the moment. But hopefully it can pull back and settle down and, be okay again. But I think it's important to pray. I really do. And I would suggest, especially if you're doing development, whether you want to become a medium or a psychic or a healer, then certainly by learning to do a little bit of praying and asking for help, that will guide you and get you working much faster than anything else would, really. But I can promise you it will. And there are grants, obviously, it's a great spiritual thing to do, to pray. If you can pray every day, wonderful. And if you pray occasionally, well, that's good too. I think praying is a wonderful way to help us in many ways, really. I think we all have troubles in our life, or we say things or do things, and oh gosh, I wish I hadn't said that or done that. And, sometimes you can have the chance to apologise for that. Other things, maybe from years and years ago, that you can't apologise for. You just wouldn't be able to know how to do that. But you could still let God know that you're sorry. And I think if you're sorry about anything, you will be forgiven. I've been as part of your life now. It's got to be. I remember my mum always used to say to me, about teenagers, it would be a good idea if all teenagers from 14 got up into their early 20s could put on an island of their own. I know what she meant. I think it is a time that you get into all sorts of mischief and you're sort of speaking out on subjects, aren't you? And sometimes you don't always agree with mum and dad or grandma or whatever, or friends. You can't turn the clock back, obviously, and go and say, I'm sorry, but you can sort of think about other things, more important things. And if you can't sort of put matters right with anyone, at least if you're really sorry, through the power of, for me, Lord Jesus, if you pray to God, I think if you're really sorry, you will be forgiven, because you can't manage it in any other way, can you, really? I think when we talk about prayer as well, the important thing to remember, it's good for all of us. I know a lot of you are tuning in to watch my YouTube channels. Will be probably developing mediums, healers, psychics, things of that nature, which is great and good. But for everyone in this world, remember, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, Protestant, Catholic, whatever you are, there can only be one God above all of us. So think of everyone as best as you can. When we hear the news of terrible things that are done in the name of religion, that's wrong. It shouldn't be, should it really? Shouldn't be, it shouldn't happen. But, I'm no better myself. I think when I through my teenage years, up to, I don't know, 23, 24, I was not the nicest person. I always thought more about me with things. I was to be kind as well, but like all people of that age, there are other things that drive you, and you make mistakes, don't you? But not just that from when you're teenagers. You can make mistakes when you're 80, when you're 90, it doesn't make no difference. And the one person that you can sort of communicate with will always be God, really. Whatever your God is, there can only be one God. Whatever God is, and put those words out. A deepening relationship with God prayer serves as a daily communication that strengthens one's bond with the divine, akin to talking with a close family member, if you like. That's always how I think. I think praying, I see it as I'm talking to and having a conversation, and I hope it's the same for everybody. Maybe because I'm a medium, I hear things a little clearer. I'm sure if you pray, you would have the same experiences. And what we're talking about that, by the way, you developing mediums, very, very important if you're up on the rostrum and you're starting to do the work. If you link with a gentleman or a lady on the other side who's come through for someone in the audience where you're working in church or whatever, ask them what the name is, ask them where they came from. So as you can do, you can go to the person and say, okay, I've got Mr. or your mom, your dad, whatever, and give them the name, and then give them a place where they came from. That sort of information. I know a medium or a psychic can only do the best they can, but you should always strive to do that. The people that I've trained as mediums over the years, a good man that I always used to teach them that try and give a piece of information for the name or a place or a perfect description of the person that you're seeing and talking to from spirit, because they deserve that. Those people who are out there in the audience or the congregation, they deserve that. Because if you say, well, I've got a man about 5'10", very short hair, like to smoke, and the person saying, yes, I understand that. But we all do, don't we? You've got to do better than that. You've got to work towards getting names, giving places. Gosh, they used to say that I was a very hard taskmaster with the training in mediumship and psychic, but that's what we want, that's what we should be doing. The philosophy as well, you should be learning the philosophy, whatever, if it's spiritualism, it's definitely need to learn the philosophy. These things will guide you forward with great progress. I think praying as well brings peace and comfort. It's often a refuge during difficult times, reduces your anxiety and brings peace of mind. And if there's anything that is worrying you, you want to you're sorry about it, or you're wondering how you might be able to help somebody, well, you'll often get the guidance and transformation. Prayer is a means to seek direction, I think, leading to changed perspectives, greater compassion, and transformed hearts. I hope so. And that can be you, I think, and health and well-being. Certainly, beyond spiritual benefits, prayer is linked to the lower stress testing, improves your mood and better emotional health. But why not pray for healing? If you know someone who's got whatever that condition, ask for help. And the churches will, of course, we all do collective ask for help for people who are sick and not well. But you will know people who might not have any information and know about that, about church and that. But you can still pray for them. And yourself, always pray for yourself as well. Your loved ones, of course, very close, but your loved ones, of course. They will hear you. God, whatever you got, He will hear you. Jesus is the way for me. I'm a Reverend Minister in the Christian Spiritualist Society Church. I don't always wear me dog colour. I'm outstanding need for that really, unless I'm taking a service somewhere. And I'm getting more and more that I like to sort of let out in the open and stand on a little hill somewhere and talk to people who would be interested in what I've got to tell them about spiritualism. There's a very wonderful medium, the greatest medium I've ever used to work like that. And that inspires me. Right. Acknowledging dependence. It reminds us that we are not in control always and allows us to surrender our worries into the higher look of God. If you can't change your worry, you can't sort something out, and it's really upsetting you, a little prayer will really help you. I would say let it be a daily necessity. It is considered a way of life, I think, really essential for maintaining spiritual vitality and preventing less moral or spiritual decline. Maybe those maybe you've got teenagers in your family, tell them careful what they do and where they go, etc., etc. And I think every prayer is answered as well, especially if it's for a good thing. Tonight you can see me in my little studio at home. And this is an interesting little story, really. During the lockdowns, a few years ago now, hasn't it? But I left Wolverhampton Radio. I've been there for 13 years and helped get it into becoming a radio station for 30. Right friend of the great friend of Wolverhampton City Radio in those days. But I moved on. They moved me on, if you like. And something else come up. I went into Pulse Talk Radio, which is all about spiritual things, really, and paranormal, just things like that. It was great. But during the lockdown, I decided that I was going to try and reach out to those in need, the elderly, especially the elderly, because they couldn't get out so well with the young people. You could, and nobody could get out sometimes, couldn't go anywhere. So I sort of built my own little studio and I prayed for help. And I got money to do that, got money come forward to help me do it. And we did it. I was even broadcasting on Christmas Day. I don't know if the wife was too pleased about that, you know. But during the lockdown, we tried very hard. We got experts to come and give advice to help how you could get by in your life, and especially the older ones. So really can't get out. They have a job sometimes to get out at all. When they couldn't have their visitors, that was terribly difficult. And honestly, they all used to tune into my radio station, little radio station, and I'd broadcast through Pulse Talk Radio, which is very, very kind of them. But, you know, I asked for guidance. I had a little prayer, and I was told to build a little studio and to see if I could do a radio station to help those people. So I did it. And you can do the same. If you pray, I don't know, people say, well, I've been praying to win the lottery, you know. It's a good many people probably do that request. But what would you do with the money if you won the lottery? Would it be to help others? Would it be to help others? Might it change your life that the people in your life that are the most important change or went in different directions? I always think sometimes through prayer you can be guided in the right ways, and that is the best way to go forward. And talking about saying a little prayer, I'm sure you all remember Barry McGuigan, the famous boxer. Those remember him in one of his last fights with Steve Cruz out in the desert, and he lost the fight. It was way too hot for him, and he was really suffering. With a couple of rounds left, he knew he was done for. He wasn't going to win the fight, and he turned to his seconds and said, "Let's all say a little prayer." And he got through that. He lost the fight, but he got through that fight. And I was thinking, isn't that interesting? My dad always used to say, my dad had been a soldier, joined in the army when he was 16, and during his time in Burma, he used to say there was a lot of young soldiers who would say that they didn't believe in this and didn't believe in that. But so many of them, when they were mortally wounded or something, would all call out, "God help me." What for their mothers? Strange, isn't it? Well, no, it isn't strange at all, really, is it? Because I'm sure loved ones must have been drawing close to take them to the other side. And, hopefully God bless them, those that went over have carried on in the other realms. And it's a pretty emotional to think about that, isn't it, really? But it's the way it goes, isn't it? So I hope you give this some food for thought. If you don't pray, well, maybe you'd like to think about it. Not just necessarily to help you in things that you want to do, but to give you a little bit of inner guidance that you perhaps don't even really know that you're going to get by doing it. And it'll only be good things. When you pray, I think you only get guided to do good things. Any people who do bad things in the name of religion, don't have time for that, because there's only one God above all of us. And we are never guided to maim, hurt, or kill our fellow men and women. and children. That's from the wickedness of man and women. It's not anything to do with God, in my view. And I think God is always trying to stop it. But it's not easy, is it? But I hope that's of interest to you, and especially you mediums and those who are developing in that way. I'm thinking about starting to do some, people keep asking me to do demonstrations. I don't know. What I would like to do probably is to come out and do some talks to people, about philosophy, about the sort of things I talk to you about on these subjects, the importance of prayer and spirituality, and learning to forgive yourself. Learning to forgive yourself. Not forgiving yourself can be crippling, really. Not forgiving yourself for things. I've seen so many people that have said to me, "Oh, I didn't go back and see my mum and dad before they passed, and I so regret that." And I said, "Well, the case you regret it, you're sorry. And they, wherever they are, will know that you're sorry. Because the powers that be, the God force, will tell them. Or that what you've got to say yourself." I hope that resonates with you. I wish you good night and God bless. Bye bye for now. And we'll see you again, now, Dad, in a month's time.